Hey everyone. You know how it is these days? The world is moving so fast. Information is coming at you from every single direction all at once. It feels pretty much impossible to keep up, let alone figure out what's really going on. So, how in the world do you cut through all that noise? Let's dive in. And bam, a headline hits your screen. A U.S. submarine just sank an Iranian warship. I mean, that's the first time something like that has happened since World War II. Instantly, the story just explodes everywhere. But before you can even wrap your head around that, boom, oil prices are spiking over 6%. The global markets are already reacting to the instability in the Strait of Hormuz. And the financial shockwaves, they don't stop there. Suddenly, the South Korean stock index plummets a record-breaking 12%. Billions in value just gone. And then, seemingly from out of nowhere, you hear about a nationwide blackout in Iraq. Is that connected? Is it something totally separate? Who knows? It's just another piece of the puzzle in this overwhelming flood of data. It's just a constant barrage, right? It feels chaotic, totally disconnected, and just impossible to track. So that brings us to the real question here. In a world that is this overwhelming, how do you actually see things clearly? Well, that's where a whole new way of looking at global events comes into play. Let's take a look at a tool that's designed specifically to turn all of this chaos into some much-needed clarity. Okay, so the World Monitor platform is really built on two core ideas. On one side, you've got the map. This gives you the live, real-time geospatial big picture of what's happening. And on the other side, you've got the chain, which is this constantly updated feed of every single intelligence signal coming in from open sources. So let's zoom in on the chain for a second. Think of it as the real-time pulse of what's happening around the globe. And it's not just some random list of headlines. This is structured intelligence. And the key to that structure is a really clever system of intensity ratings. These intensity ratings are all about helping you immediately grasp how important an event is without getting lost in all the other noise. They classify every single piece of intel, sorting what's truly critical from what's just, interesting. Okay, here's a perfect example of a critical signal. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launching a ballistic missile like this, well, that's a massive, direct military action. This is the highest level of severity, and it's reserved for events that have immediate, huge consequences. All right, next up we have a high signal. A report that an F-15E has crashed is incredibly significant. That's the loss of a major military asset in the middle of a mission. It's a direct part of the conflict. It has serious implications, but you can see it's a step below that massive strategic missile strike we just looked at. And then you have an elevated signal. Now, a smaller scale attack like this gives you crucial context. These are the kinds of events that really build out the larger picture. They track diplomatic moves, smaller attacks, political statements, all the things that shape the conflict. Now, imagine trying to process this many signals all at once, 167. That's the sheer volume of information being tracked in just one conflict zone. Without a system to rate and organize all this data, you would be completely and utterly lost. But organizing the data is really only half the battle. The real power here comes from connecting the dots and understanding how one event can actually trigger a whole series of others. Because nothing happens in isolation, right? A single military event in one part of the world can set off a global chain reaction that ripples through finance, economics, and politics. Seeing those connections, that's the key to really understanding the full picture. So let's trace one of these chains. It starts with a military action. Iranian forces target ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so what's the immediate economic impact? Well, tanker traffic just plummets, an astonishing 92%, and oil prices jump. If you're running a global logistics company, that's an immediate signal to reroute your assets. Then, this creates a financial reaction thousands of miles away, as South Korea's stock market, which is heavily reliant on that oil, just crashes. And finally, you see the political aftermath, as China steps in to mediate, trying to protect its own interests in the region. And you can see that ripple effect right here, clear as day. It's not just one market. Dubai stock market drops almost 5%. South Korea's, like we saw, falls a massive 12%. These aren't just numbers on a chart. They represent real-world financial pain felt across the entire globe, and it all stems from that one initial military event. So what does this all add up to? Well, it's really about a fundamental shift in how we process and understand what's happening in the world. It's a journey, really, from seeing hundreds of disconnected data points to understanding them as actual structured intelligence. It's about moving away from that feeling of overwhelming chaos and moving towards genuine clarity. It's about seeing not just what happened, but finally understanding why it matters. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought. In a world where one single event can trigger a global chain reaction, is seeing the whole interconnected picture the only way to truly understand and prepare for whatever comes next? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.